So when people ask, what evidence and proof do you have? I said, well, we have 4,000 landing cases with the documentations from the official government research scientists, like the Provence case in France. We have 3,500 pilot and radar cases like the one I just described to you. We have, of course, a huge number of astonishing videos and photographs of these objects. And we have the top secret witness testimony of 110 of these sort of government and corporate officials like John Callahan from the FAA that are all in our possession. Now, obviously, those are thousands of pages of transcripts and thousands of pages of government documents and thousands of pages of report incidents, and no one's going to read a book that large. So what we did, just so people have an idea, in the last 10 years, we put all this together into the Disclosure Project book and into the videos. And you can go on disclosureproject.org and get the 2-hour and also a 4-hour video of these top secret witnesses speaking. And also on the 2-hour video called Disclosure that have these top secret witnesses speaking, there was also a nearly 500-page briefing document that was a lot of the material that was provided to President Clinton's CIA director and to President Clinton and other senior officials back during that period in the 90s. And in that are also some very important top secret documents, including some of these that I'm going to share today with folks, and that we've also included in the briefing materials for President Obama and his administration, his senior officials. So I wanted to give this background to people so they have sort of a sense of the scope of the information and the gravitas of it, but also the credibility of it. We're not dealing with secondhand accounts. We're not dealing with secondhand reportage. And what's interesting is the hypocrisy in the mainstream media. You know, if you have 3 independent people who will confirm a sexual affair with the President of the United States, you can have them impeached. And it'll be front page news in the papers for 2 or 3 years. Here we have 110 first-hand top secret whistleblowers from inside the government, thousands of government pages, and the kind of dispositive proof that I'm talking about in terms of radar tapes and images and landing physical evidence, physical proof. And you cannot get a story on this done credibly in the New York Times or Washington Post. So you have to ask yourself who really controls the big media. And this is why the Internet and shows like the World Fusion Network are so important to freedom and democracy, is that there be an avenue for people to hear the truth and learn this information without the filter of these large corporate lackeys of the national security state keeping all of it secret. So that's our purpose, and that's why, you know, we exist. One of the reasons we exist, because people need to understand that this is not just based on, little ladies in tennis shoes seeing a light in the sky. The way this is often portrayed in the media is that, they'll interview someone, who lives in a trailer park who has half his teeth missing and can't articulate a grammatically correct sentence. And they'll say, well, this person, and they'll just try to discredit the subject that way. And it's all stagecraft. It's all gamesmanship. It has nothing to do with the truth. And in reality, you have, astronomers, and you have PhD scientists, and you have senior government officials, and you have, highly qualified technical people and pilots and people like this who are all providing dispositive proof and evidence and testimony and documents that if it was on any other subject, it would be the end of it. There would be no further discussion of a question about whether it exists. So I just want to point that out to folks, because many times people will ask the question, how do we know this exists, and what is the evidence for it? And so we're wanting to just do a little bit of a review of that today. Now, one of the things that I think is very important to understand is some of the documents that we have acquired are documents that are top secret but have not been declassified. And many people have felt this to be quite astonishing and have asked me, well, how is that legal? I want to give you a little bit of the background that over the last 10 to 15 years of how we came to be able to operate in this fashion. It's very important to understand that our assessment after I briefed the CIA director and after I briefed members of the Senate Intelligence Committee and the Senate Appropriations Committee and members of the House Government Oversight Committee and people like this, people who normally would be read into or briefed on top secret operations in an electronically sealed chamber. These were all people who were being left out of the loop and lied to about this subject. I also met with and personally briefed face-to-face the director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, which is the largest intelligence gathering operation for the Pentagon. It is like a CIA within the Pentagon, with some 10,000 people who work there. I also have briefed the CIA director directly. I've also briefed the head of intelligence for the Joint Chiefs of Staff, J2, which is the person who's in charge of intelligence analysis and assessments for the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the United States. I've also met with the former Minister of Defense head, Lord Hill Norton, who was a 5-star admiral and had been head of the Ministry of Defense, but also head of the Military Committee for NATO. And every single one of these senior officials had been denied access to this information. And I think this is what's very important. Once between 1993 or 92 and 1998, when we worked through the system and concluded that there was an extra-constitutional, rogue, illegal, secret government within the government, a sort of a transnational entity that was keeping this secret, much as what Senator Inouye described during the Iran-Contra hearings when he said, and I'm paraphrasing here, that there exists a secret government with its own Air Force, its own Navy, its own funding mechanism, etc. And by the way, this quote is on our website and also in the book and on the videos, the actual footage of Senator Inouye saying this. What I think that people have to understand is that this group, it's called Majestic for short, that was formed during the Truman era, escaped the control of the President of the United States during the Eisenhower period and has remained independent and functioned as a governing entity unto itself, and has therefore broken all the laws of the United States and is itself rogue and illegal. Therefore, a priori and forever, we declared that group rogue, and any documents, testimony, material, information, intelligence about this subject we declared to be public domain with no national security classification around it. Now, the reason for that, and this is very important that people listen carefully to what I'm about to say, is that let's say that you're running a criminal, and you're a member of the mafia, and you're running a criminal enterprise. If you're running a criminal enterprise and you enter into a contract or an agreement with someone, that contract and agreement is unenforceable because the enterprise itself is illegal. It vitiates and completely negates that agreement. In the same way, these programs that are illegally run, that have lied to presidents and have lied to members of the Congress and have even lied to senior military and intelligence officials that I have briefed, they cannot then claim protection under the National Security Act. Now, they have a lot of people hoodwinked who work for them who don't know this, because the lower level, or should I say mid-level and lower level functionaries within these top secret programs think that they're being properly managed and run. But we can prove otherwise. And once we were able to do that by 1997 and 1998, we declared in an open letter to the government, which is in our book, the first book I wrote, Extraterrestrial Contact, The Evidence and Implications, which is also at disclosureproject.org and for anyone to read. We declared in a letter that went to all the heads of the various agencies of the government that these projects were illegal, and therefore we were liberating all the witnesses, all the top secret sources, the whistleblowers, and the documents. And I put out a call for people to come forward, and boy, did they. We have now over 500 of these sort of top secret people who have given me information on how these operations are going forward and what they're doing. I have distilled that information into this briefing for the President of the United States and also for the public to see. And there are, as a result, some top secret documents that were given to me from insiders that are unquestionably authentic, that have not been declassified. But we have considered them public domain because they are being kept secret by a group that routinely lies to the constitutionally and legally required oversight officials, meaning the President, the Secretary of Defense, the members of the Cabinet, and the senior committee members of the Congress. And therefore, they have basically rendered themselves unprotected. And we, as an act of true legal civil responsibility, have decided these documents can be known. For this reason, we have now placed on our website some of these documents. And one of the ones I want to refer to, which is one of the first ones that you will see when you get on our website, and that is certainly one of the first documents that President Obama saw. And also, I have to say, this briefing went to the new CIA director of the CIA, Leon Panetta, and the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, and Secretary of Defense Gates, and a few other folks. And from 1991, 28 July 1991, at 0900 hours, we have here a document from the NRO, that's the National Reconnaissance Office. Now, most Americans have never heard of this group. It's a very top-secret operation that runs satellites and reconnaissance systems, and it was from their NRO Central Security Service, and it was a classified, restricted document, and the subject was a Special Security Advisory / Blue Fire was the code name. And what is very important in this document, basically the reason it was written, is that there was a group of people who were trying to penetrate the perimeter of the so-called Area 51 and see what it was that we were flying and doing out there. And this document was basically a security alert because of this attempt to penetrate late at night the perimeter of that base by a group of people who were trying to find out what in the heck was going on out near in Nellis Air Force Base, Area 51, which is better known as S4, S12, S9, Pahut Mesa. Now, I want to go through this document, and if you're on our website and you're looking at it, the really important part of this document is the distribution list. And if you look at it, the distribution list includes names such as Royal Ops, Cosmic Ops. Now, we've heard for years there's a Cosmic Top Secret Clearance compartmentalized that deals with the ET issue. Here it is in black and white, Cosmic Ops. Maj Ops for Majestic, and also Magi Ops. Both are related to the Majestic, but they're different compartments. And then there's a whole bunch of others. And then AFOSI, Air Force Office of Special Investigations, Nellis Division, and it actually gives the numbered squadrons, 26th, 64th, 65th, 527th, 5021, Aggressor Squadron Commanders, and these are the people, the security people. And then a whole lot of other compartmented commander and code numbers that are listed. And then what's very important are all the MOC, the Military Operating Centers. And these are specific compartmented facilities and operations that are related to the ET issue, and also the use of so-called alien reproduction vehicles, or UFOs, that are man-made, that fly in and out of Edwards Air Force Base in Nellis, and also the Dugway Proving Grounds in Utah, and the facility in Australia, Pine Gap, and a few other places. But take a note of this. Red Flag MOC, MOC Military Operating Center, Dart East MOC, Dart South, Pahut Mesa. Now, we've heard from people who've worked at Pahut Mesa what they have there, including ET spacecraft that have been studied and reverse engineered, but also operational man-made devices that are anti-gravity and what have you. Sally Corridor, Groom Lake MOC, Dreamland MOC. Now, this is very important. Dreamland's been reported almost mythologically as existing. This is actually a listed facility. Ground Star MOC and Blackjack Team, and then Roulette Team, Aquaspray, and Sea Spray. Now, what's interesting about Blackjack Team is that Blackjack Control is at Edwards. This Blackjack Team is at Nellis. And there is an underground connector that goes at enormous velocity that deals with very advanced anti-gravity type technology that is an underground connector between the high desert of California and this base near Nellis Air Force Base. And the transportation can be totally underground, subterranean, and undetectable. And we know people, I personally know people who have been in that system. I will also point out that the Los Alamos facility has an underground connector that connects it to the so-called Dulce deep underground facility, where there are biological and other experiments going forward where they've been creating the so-called programmed life forms, the ET, the fake ETs that people have seen often as the Greys and the reptilians, which are actually man-made creatures, have nothing to do with the actual ETs.